Hey guys, this is just me for right now, and the dog. William is coming in 1 second. I know there are only 8 people because we were supposed to be live an hour ago, but it was pouring, like pouring. And when it pours down so hard on Starlink, it doesn't work. So William is joining us in 5 minutes. So it's just me for right now. I hope you're gonna bear with me. There is a chat. There is a chat box on the right where you can um, ask us questions. I see there is some people still here. That's nice. Yeah, I know it's like 1 hour late is horrible, but it was just like pouring. We had no connection whatsoever. The rainy season came really earlier this year. Last year was end of May, and this time it's just been pouring for the last month like crazy. So I see 22 people here now. That's good. Uh, Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining. William is joining us in a minute. And remember, there is a chat box. We're going to be answering those questions. And we're going to be talking today about the refit. It's been a while. William been working like crazy. I'm helping him, but like William being such a man, he's always saying that it's going to take him more time to explain to me how to do something that just do it himself. So a lot of times I really can't help him because he doesn't want me helping him. Okay, there are 50 people here. That's nice. Hi guys. I only see General Sedan in the chat. Where is all the rest? Remember, guys, there is a chat box, so we can see that you're here. We are here to talk to you. And I'm saying we's because William is joining in 1 minute. And we're going to be talking about the refit and about whatever you guys want to talk about because we are basically here for you. I see Otto Harrington here. Hello, Otto. Where are you guys watching from? It's so weird to be alone here. I'm glad I have William because I wouldn't know. Michael is here. Hello, Michael. Yeah, what are you guys up to? It's for you, it's Sunday evening, and for us, it's Monday morning. Love your videos. Thank you, David. I actually just saw our subscriber on the dock. It's always so funny to see somebody who knows you and they're like, "Oh, we watch your videos." That's very cool. So TJ is here. Stan from South Florida. Hey, Stan. That's nice. We actually do miss Miami quite a bit and Florida. It was cool there. And sometimes we don't appreciate things when we are there, but in retrospective, we definitely wish we could have cruised in the US a little bit more than we did. But as you know, we were refitting our steel motor sailor, which was crazy. A lot of work there. And now another boat. All right. 78 people here. Come on, guys. Put some like buttons. William is coming. Hold on. If you have any questions to me, put them in the chat box while he's not here. Hi from Queensland, Tony. Hello, Tony. And remember, there is a chat box where you can write all kinds of stuff. Whatever you want to ask us. David is here from Tennessee. Nice to see you guys. Yeah, it's 9 a.m. here. And been crazy. So what happened? We went an anchor. I talked William to, I said, look, you've been working like crazy on this boat 24/7. I said, let's go at anchor for 2 days. And that's, of course, where our live was scheduled. And we were located by this rock, like a large rock formation that are only in Thailand. And of course, rock formation blocking the signal plus heavy downpours. So last time we tried to go live, it didn't work. And now we are back to the marina, and guess what? Again was a crazy downpour and we couldn't go live again. I think I hear him. He's coming. I'm glad you guys love the channel. Jeff, Michael, hi from New Zealand, Pacific Explorer. Hello, guys. Californian kayaker. Actually, hey, I know you commenting quite a bit. Thank you for all your comments. We always love reading your comments. And like, guys, comment under the videos because we love reading those, and it's always so refreshing to to know that you guys are watching and you are interested in what we're putting there. Stan, I thought I missed it. I thought you did too. I thought we're not going to be able to go live, but luckily we are. 95 people watching. Hopefully William is coming. All right. Bear saying hi from California. Just love you too. Well, we love you guys too. I'd like to know the best coffee also. What do you mean by the best coffee? Yuluki, good morning. Thank you. Well, guys, come on, ask some questions in the chat box while we are waiting for William, because he's gonna come and I'm sure he's gonna dive into the refit and what we've been doing on the boat and some struggles that we've been, our goal was to refit this boat in 3 months, but I think it's been 4 months something at this point. It's because we've hit some, how you say it in English, some roadblocks. Yeah. So there's been a lot of things that we've been discovering that of course takes time, because we are doing interior and we want this boat to look nice, but there are also what we did on the Dawn Hunter 1, right? When we were refitting her in Florida, we did a lot of like nice, pretty stuff, and then we didn't do much to mechanical part of the boat, and that's what was hitting us once we left the Boatyard after those 3 years of hard work and mechanical things started to break. So that's what we're trying to avoid with this boat. We want to put it together mechanically and to be for it as safe as possible. So that's why it takes us a little longer, as always, as everybody's, than we were hoping for, but it's not bad. All right, some questions. Stan, whose idea was it to use the diamond plate for the shower? Okay, that's a good question. I can answer that. So originally, the boat had some diamond plate like in interior. And so I really liked that. And I said, hey, how about we do that for the shower? And we kind of were talking about this back and forth together. And William said, yeah, that's a good idea. However, somebody wrote a comment, a very good comment about standing in the diamond plate, right, which is metal, in the shower, which is connected to the hull, in the water. And somebody said in the comment that you might have a problem with electricity. And we were like, shit, we might. So that was a very good comment of somebody. That's why I'm always saying, hey guys, if you do have some thoughts or ideas, always write them to us, because a lot of times that's like super helpful. So we might have to like maybe put a wooden thing on top. Yes, here he is. I'm struggling here. He's here.
This is called karma.
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 Well, it was raining so hard, so I'm glad we're here. Come.
Come.
He is here. Anyway, so yeah, so we might have to put like a wooden thing on the floor and stand on it in the shower so nobody gets electrocuted. I don't know. He's here now. He might answer this better. They're asking about the diamond plate in the shower. All right. That was a good question. Just remember, the pain you go through will be less painful later. Yes, Bear, for sure. Video went to commercials. Oh no, that's YouTube. Oh, here he is.
Hello.
Yay. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. So here he is. 113 people still survived. First it was just 7 people and me.
Well, that's 6 people too many for you.
Yeah, exactly. And you now cannot say anything because you don't know what I said.
Well, I do know what you said. I was hiding outside. No, not really.
Right.
Welcome everybody, and thank you for being here. And we hit 5 years on YouTube a couple days ago, and it popped up on the phone. I'm like, this sucks. It means that I'm 5 years older than I started this adventure. So I keep yelling about table.
Yep.
Well, first of all, I want to thank my wife Yana
for going live.
We want to thank all of our patrons first, and we do some posting. I send photos. We do little clips and little updates there on Patreon. Sometimes photographs, random videos about where we are. So we don't post things earlier there or anything else, but we do appreciate very much our patrons. That
thank you guys so much.
There's some people that have been with us since day one. So I'm thinking, wow, 5 years they've been, kind of knowing us. I was just coming down and I met a guy on the dock, actually by the restaurant, and he said, "Hey, where are you going? I'm one of your subscribers, and I'm a little ways down the dock." I'm like, "Oh, I've got to run. We've got a live, and I'm late." And he's like, "Oh, you have a live? Let me go on live." So if you're here, nice to meet you quickly. I will come back and get your name. Sorry, I was running.
Yeah, so I have asked them to ask some questions while you were gone, so I'm going to quickly answer that.
All right.
Oh my God.
So my whole program and plan.
I said about Starlink. I said about Starlink that was the rock formation and stuff. I explained that.
Oh, well, check mark.
So somebody is asking, James is saying, not a sailing question, just want to know if Yana does a dental work when sailing. I can't even do a dental work on him. Well, number one, I don't have a dental chair. So there are some dental kits for like helping, I guess, people in rural countries like Africa. So, but that would be the only country where that would be actually like, how you say it, even making sense, because nobody else would want to go to a dentist without a chair with just some hand tools. That's just not right. So no, I don't do dental work while we're traveling. That's a great short answer.
And he is here. Hello. Sailing Angie.
That's
All
not
right.
him.
No.
How
do you know?
I don't know. Oh, I'm here. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm reading that comment under.
Okay. 130 people. Yay. Hit the thumbs up and welcome to our typical lifestyle. Well, you're going to go through the questions. I was going to hit a couple of these things fast.
No, just go.
All right. So before we get going, I wanted to cover some high points about the refit and why we are now 4 months into the refit when we had thought 3.
I kind of said it. But you can go. I said it was we discovered some things, and with the other boat we discovered a lot of things.
I'm gonna go have a coffee and you can continue.
No, go. I'm just updating you so you don't repeat things.
So I'll go fast, and then if you have questions about that, but we'll be covering this in the future videos as we go through different areas. But the engine exhaust exit was changed due to the weight and the extending of the boat. The vessel was originally 49 foot, and they made it 53. So they made some changes to it. Long story short, sailing from Africa to Thailand, because of the massive, I guess, waves and wind, water was taken in the starboard side, locked up the starboard engine. So we've had to pull the engine out. I pulled both sail drives out. And in analysis, it's because the exhaust is still not in the correct position relative to the, I guess, the muffler system. So that's all being redesigned. That was a surprise. Another is the hardtop was 15 centimeters too high. So it would impede with the boom in some sailing instances. If you didn't know what you were doing, the boom would smack the solar panels and the hardtop. So we removed that and lowered it by 15 centimeter and changing the solar layout. We also had to completely remove all the plastic and all the laminate from the interior. It's something that we didn't realize in Africa because of the temperature. But when the boat arrived in Thailand and I was down working in it, I started smelling all the off-gassing from the plastics and from the adhesives being used. There was Formica glue, which typically on vessels, because of the temperature range, you don't want to be using something that's not a 2-part epoxy. If you're using a Formica glue or something that air dries, even when I pulled the Formica off, I was smelling the glue as though it was right out of the can. Not so good when your boat is, at 35 degrees C. So it's the reason why we ripped all the cabins apart. Sounds like a good, legitimate reason.
And quick interjection. You don't do dental on board. Does William play doctor on board? The only role play William is playing on board is mechanic.
Repairman, engineer. Sorry. Let you guys think that that's the sailing dream.
Be cutting in and out.
Oh, okay. The other is that we discovered that the boom and the Traveler had some major issues. The boom gooseneck block was excessively worn. And so that gooseneck block I've redesigned to not only make it larger, but to have bronze replaceable bushings inside. And then the rear Traveler was moved back when the boat was extended, which then caused too much stress on the hardtop. So as the boom would swing left to right on the Traveler, it was cracking the aluminum on the non-structural part, but it was on the hardtop deck. So we had to move the Traveler forward all the way where originally the factory had it, and then completely put all the backing plates and everything on it. So summary is that what we had planned to do on the vessel and then what we're doing on the vessel is, well, we have it on the hard, we may as well do it right, because
that's always the point.
That's our saying.
Yeah.
But we've learned something, and we've had conversation, is that on Dawn Hunter 1, we spent so much time making things pretty. Well, this is for the new
okay,
100 people
fine,
here.
Fine.
Welcome for the new people that are here.
Welcome
I'm Captain
back.
William.
And I'm Yana.
We're Dawn Hunters, and we're
Woo!
talking about our refit and why we're doing more to the boat. But the reality is if you're looking at buying a boat and you plan to do 3 months worth of work, it's going to be 6. If you've planned to do certain things, it's going to be more. And you do it because you have accessibility. It's not sinking. You can drive up with a truck and unload equipment and materials. All of those things become very complicated when you're at anchor or in a marina. So for those of you that are going to come back and watch this live, because you can watch it, we post it, that's going to give you a little bit of an idea about the in-depth that we're doing on the refit. And then we wanted to open up the questions, because I've been getting a ton of questions. And I have to be honest, I haven't been able to keep up with all the questions and comments because I've been working, I guess,
like crazy
10 hours a day to get this boat back in the water.
That's why I said I got you at anchor for 2 days, and that was so nice. And actually, so let's go back to shower, because that's what we were talking before you came. So I've explained that somebody commented about the diamond plate and this being connected to the hull and us not being electrocuted. So I said maybe we'll have some wooden things there. And so anyway, so somebody then came back and asking, okay, explain how you're not going to get electrocuted while standing in a metal shower.
Well, working offshore oil rigs, the boat is its own electrical system, which means that it's not connected to shore power. It's not connected to a service system. And this boat will never have a shore power cable. Without going into details with everything from electrolysis to grounding to floating voltages, it's better to be self-sufficient, run off of solar, run off of lithium. And if you have to charge the batteries, turn on the generator. So the ground of the boat is not actually the ground of the system. There is a complete grounding system that runs throughout this vessel, port to starboard, bow to stern. And that is isolated from the actual aluminium hull of the vessel. I won't get into details of that, but it's a requirement so that you don't have straight currents and electrolysis. Yeah. Now, having said that, I'm going to stop being a geek and I'm going to go into the basics.
He's going to go to that shower first, by the way.
Yeah. The shower has been designed such that it is connected and welded to the hull. So it's the same thing as like why you don't get electrocuted when you're taking a shower on the back of your boat. It's water, it's aluminum. So from a theory standpoint, it is like we're standing in the shower in the hull. But for safety's sake, additional safety's sake, we're going to build a teak cross lattice wood system that we're standing on. So we won't be standing in the aluminum. But if you think about it, even water from your body connecting to the aluminium could give you a shock in the wrong place.
The whole issue that Gone with the Winds had on their HH sailboat stand the same.
Right. You're correct. But that, if you look even more detail, the jury is still out whether that was straight current or whether that was recirculating or circulating current. Again, carbon fiber hull, it's a new technology. Aluminium and steel is not. Now, aluminium and steel has a conductivity, I guess, base point, and carbon fiber has carbon, which has conductivity. So the good thing is with aluminium vessels and with steel vessels, there's no magic. They've been building steel vessels forever. So having our experience on Dawn Hunter 1 being steel, everything that I've learned on that boat, and also working in the oil rigs and having an electronics degree, I've now applied to this aluminium, which is why we wanted an aluminium boat. We'll see.
Yeah.
If Yana comes up with a curly hair, you know that I was wrong. My hair doesn't curl anymore.
Yeah, and let's say hi to a couple of people in the chat. Remember, guys, if you just joined, there is a chat box. We are just answering questions of you. That's why we are here.
And welcome everybody. We are on the Saba 50 in a marina. We took a couple days, went to anchor. The floors are
nice.
drying.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yana made me sign a contract document that every Friday we've got to leave. So we're just going to extend this refit for another
forever. Okay, so Mike is here from New Zealand. Thank you for joining us. Terry's saying Plane Doctor was a joke. We got it. But being a mechanic is not a joke. Two Up Black Top Riders. Hello from Southern Ohio. Hello, Bob. Sailing Anahi, our neighbor saying always takes longer. Exactly. And Vic, have you decided what dinghy you're going to use? That's a great question. And where to store it?
All right. There will be an upcoming episode on the dinghy. If you look back at some of the other episodes, I cut it in half and then removed a big chunk out of the middle. And now I'm re-welding it back together again. So it has the ability to then be brought up on the aft deck. But instead of traditional coming up parallel to the aft deck, we're going to bring the dinghy up and launch it the same as we do lifeboats on oil rigs or offshore platforms. It's going to come bow first up a pair of rollers, and then it's going to rest inside of our aft deck salon. So we can have dinner on the dinghy if we want.
Yeah, it's been so like the dinghy. Somebody actually like commented like a funny kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. You know what you're doing in boating based on your 7 dinghies.
Well, it's because like we strive for the better every time, right? Anyway, so this is probably our 7th dinghy or something like that. So what was happening with the dinghy and why we are changing the process from the dinghy davits is what we've discovered living at anchor. Dinghy davits system is just so dangerous. Everybody's using it because there is literally no other better alternative. And we were thinking about those platforms that kind of raise up, right, the dinghy and then put it back. But we decided that wasn't also very, like, how you say it, mechanically good. Like they break all the time.
And the dinghy is too close to the ocean. So if you get a following sea, you can't have the sea fill the dinghy with water. And now you have another problem. So we then came up with a design to actually bring the dinghy up bow first. The most important is that we can launch the dinghy or we can bring the dinghy up on the vessel without being in it. More importantly, we have gotten so many times where we almost lost fingers or cracked ribs.
Yeah, that's what's and you know what's interesting is that when everything is perfect, like right now in the marina, there is no chop whatsoever. It's perfect, right? The water is like lake. It's fine. But even small chop, right? Like at anchorage, it's not big waves or anything like that. Like just some chop causes major issues. Like it's so dangerous because the boat goes like this, the dinghy, the actual boat goes like this, and so this whole movement and you trying to hook your dinghy to the dinghy davit is very, very dangerous.
There's another thing I was explaining. One of our subscribers, well, multiple subscribers have come and visited in the last, I guess, couple months. You don't realize when you have a monohull or a trawler and you bring your dinghy behind a monohull or a trawler, the vessel is breaking that wake, breaking those waves, and calming the seas down to some extent. That's not the case with a catamaran. With a catamaran, you have a hull on the port side and the starboard side, and down the middle of the catamaran, you have open ocean, you have open waves. If a boat goes in front of you, the catamaran moves up and down with the two hulls, and it's protected behind the hull. But on the opening part, you're catching the full amount of the waves. Your catamaran's going up, your dinghy's going down. And if your arm is between the two of them, you have no arm. So we've realized that being off grid and offshore a lot on the catamaran, launching the dinghy and getting it back up, you should not be in it, because it's the point you might have 7 knots of current, you might be in a storm. Let the dinghy out there and then bring it up with the winch when you're safe. Don't be out there wrestling a dinghy in the middle of current and a storm. You fall in and you're not going to be found. So anyway, that was the dinghy saga. We will continue with the aluminium dinghy because it is
Yeah.
a bulletproof
Aluminum and electric.
and electric.
For us.
We've realized over all of these 8 years that electric is not fast, but we're not going anywhere fast. If you got a 7-knot boat, why are you worried about going more than 7 knots in your dinghy?
Well, maybe some people go to work on their dinghy. For example, they live on board and they stay at anchor and then they're going to work. Okay?
Yeah, jet skiing, pulling people behind it.
We don't do any of this kind of activities. We go to the shore, right? And that's it.
Buy groceries.
Buy groceries.
Look for coffee.
Yeah. So we don't go far. And because we've discovered after our Bahamas excursion, when our dinghy was, waterboarded, it's sunk on land, we've discovered that we don't want to anchor that far from land, right? Or from where we want to go, because that's just not smart in these foreign countries where you can't get help.
Yes,
so although you have a fast dinghy and you can't go far, you really don't want to go far from your boat. Maybe better to anchor, if you can, to those places.
The other thing is that when you are away from your vessel and you're in remote locations, you're away from your vessel. The first thing someone does is they see that the dinghy's gone from your boat. There's a high chance there's no one on the boat. So we want to stay within a distance that we can get back to the boat, even from a matter of safety and theft. So I see some pretty good questions here popping.
All right.
Can I say quickly? Hello, Appleton, Wisconsin. My brother works in Appleton, Wisconsin, at CMD Corp. So I'm very familiar with Appleton.
All right, so we're gonna go. How is the dog? The dog is great. He needs to drink water, so I might step for a minute.
You'll see this glance off into nowhere land. That's that's Yana wondering about where the dog is, what he's doing.
He needs a drink because I fed him right before the live. So next question. 1957 Porsche Speedster. When is Saba 50 gonna be sold? Great questions.
That
we're wondering too.
I have an excellent answer. If you have a 1957 Porsche Speedster, you need to come buy this Saba. So, Saba is for sale. We're using it now while we're doing the refit, and soon we have to be off of it. So when we're off of it, but it's for sale.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to take away our temporary home, come on down.
And kick us out.
Yeah, it's on the Yacht Sales Company site and on Multi-Hull site.
Now, Michael. Hi again, Yana. Michael wants to know your must-haves for the Galley. What do you mean, like appliances or?
Must-haves are like what?
Like
what
the
do you
big
have
stuff?
to have, yes.
Like the big stuff.
Stuff.
Dishwasher. No, for real. Like I wouldn't want to be like at anchor without dishwasher. Okay, I can be, of course, but it's just so much better because you are cooking 3 meals on board, and that's something nice. Then what else? Stove, obviously. I think it's just like obvious things I'm saying.
The very first priority is a dishwasher. It's not about cooking. It's not about
stove is a given. Okay, so then we have air fryer.
Air fryer that we do a lot of stuff with.
Yeah, we do air fryer, and then what we don't air fry, we grill. But a lot of times, it rains, so it's not very cool to grill. So we air fry a lot of stuff when we don't want to grill or we can't. Then there is ice maker. We discovered just recently it's pretty cool to have cold drinks because it's hot here.
Little small countertop unit.
Yeah, and it makes a bunch of ice so you can refreeze it back. Then we have a coffee machine because we are crazy people, but You can basically do your coffee on the stove, really, if you don't want. But if you have a coffee machine, sometimes it comes with a grinder. So then and then microwave, I guess you can warm your food on the stove, so you don't have to have microwave. Again, it depends what you want to do. If you have a lot of soup, so you're warming up a lot of stuff, then microwave helps. If not, then no. I don't use a lot of microwave, but William wants to put it on board on the new board as well. So that's, I guess, that's what I'm looking like. I'm looking, what else do I have? I think that's it.
We have a induction cooktop,
Yeah,
and a microwave and an air fryer.
Yeah.
There's these little utensils like a waffle maker or some other little things, blenders,
but
and
they're
stuff.
so rarely used.
They're
Really,
rarely used.
yeah.
So the power consumption side of things is that the new equipment or the new refrigerators, freezers, we kind of glossed over that. It's kind of a given to us, but yes, a lot of refrigeration is required, actually more than even freezing, because when and if the freezer goes out, you lose a lot of important food. So you kind of tend to use the refrigerator more.
Refrigerators, definitely. Like the more refrigerators you have, the better. Actually,
Yeah, you have to have refrigeration with a lot of things, or they go bad. And we have been fortunate to where we always find some little store, even from the Bahamas to Africa to wherever, where you can get small items that will stay for 4 or 5 days. We have a gas-free galley. And what I mean by that is that there is not a gas line coming into the boat. I cut them all out, removed them all. The only place that we have propane gas is to the outside grill. Now, if the whole boat goes to shit and we don't have any power, we can still grill outside. So we do have a backup for grilling.
So, and Stan is asking, did you calculate the load on your battery bank before deciding on your appliances?
Actually, I did not. Everybody goes through all this, and as an engineer, that would be something if I was going to look at weight, efficiency, and maximizing the storage capacity. But I'm from, again, the old school of oil rigs. I don't want to calculate loads, and I don't want to rely on only the battery bank. So what I did is I calculated the loads based on the solar. So during the day, Yana has reprogrammed to do the cooking, make soups, make broth, things that are going to be slow cooking for a very long time. Yesterday, she bought some mystery meat and made soup. Turns out it was some pork meat. And after an hour, it was still like a tough shoe.
And William hates stuffed meat.
So what she did is she said, we're going to have it for supper instead of lunch. So it's slow cooked all day long. The solar currently on Saba in the daytime keeps up with the air conditioners in the salon. That's two 12,000 BTU air conditioners running at 220 volt. It also keeps up with cooking. Now, she doesn't run the dishwasher when the air are on and we don't cook something. So the reality of it is, to answer your question, I designed the battery banks completely to handle everything on the boat, including running air, with a single battery bank. I did the secondary battery bank as redundancy because I'm doing a test of switching from AGM to solar, switching from solar to battery bank A and B. I'm designing an algorithm and a circuitry for that, so that if you want to add, I know there's a battery bank manager and some other little things out there, but effectively what I've learned is that everything electronic will fail. When? It's only going to be in the middle of the night in a storm. I want to be able to, in the event that we have a complete failure of one battery bank, I want to be able to switch the other one on and get things running. And so essentially we have twice the battery storage of what we have and our requirements are, but that's for testing and it's also for redundancy. Solar and generator can keep the boat going without, now, got to have sun, but luckily we're in Thailand right now.
Let's answer some questions here before we switch to aluminum. So just saying hello to Rob. He's our patron from Tucson, AZ. I always forget Arizona, right? AZ. AZ is Arizona.
Arizona, yes, good.
Thanks. Don't. I'm reading the comments. You are answering them. He's always like, Sailing Anahi. Ninja food is great. Actually, it is, but we can't get it here because we used to have it and on the first boat, and then when we moved to Thailand we couldn't get it anywhere, so that's why we don't have it right now. Rob is saying everyone should have an espresso machine. Exactly. um, Carl is saying 8 kilowatt could run a small island village. Chad is saying, do you catch any and eat any fish? Not really.
We eat fish constantly.
Yeah, but we
We
don't
catch them in the
much.
store or on the side market or from a long tail going by.
Yep. And so, all right, let's go to aluminum.
Say hello to
Say 200 people.
211 people.
Hit that like button before we hit that boring aluminum subject.
Good evening. Good evening. We have finally connected with 200 people on live because this is like what? Attempt 3?
Yeah, that's a third attempt to. And actually, Mark is saying before we switch to aluminum subject, the dinghy is a DIY build. Well, you go.
Yeah, we actually, I designed the dinghy, had it built in Thailand, have all the drawings for it. It's been phenomenal. It was a little bit overbuilt. That's kind of what I tend to do. So this time I've given it a diet. I've cut out a lot of the things that aren't required in it, lightened it up by about 50%. It's not going to battle. It's going to an island. So I do have all the information on the dinghy. It's not very difficult to have built by an aluminium shop. There is a company here that builds them similar, but again, it's kind of for like U.S. Coast Guard offshore military use, and so I stripped it down for an aluminium dinghy application for what we do.
Yeah, and somebody said there is so many cool stuff. Get the biggest generator that will fit 10 kilowatt minimum. The makeup lights alone for this channel will require it. By the way, I own 0 piece of makeup.
Well, no, he's saying makeup lights. We don't even have lighting.
But why do you need makeup lights to put makeup
for
on?
Me.
He doesn't own a piece of makeup either.
No. We don't have any. Luckily, my wife never even brushes her hair. I say, let's go. And she's okay. Off she goes,
Yeah, life is too short.
She brushes the dog every day.
Yeah, I do. So, actually, I think why we decided not to put the generator, that's actually kind of a good question.
Well, get the biggest generator that will fit.
Right. So what about the generator?
We spent a ton of time, and I think in past lives, and I did in the past 2 videos, I gave an overview of the generation system that I've decided to go with on our boat. We actually found a 3-cylinder engine. We were going to put on a DC generator, so we would only charge the DC batteries. It's the same as what's done on all the cell towers for backup. They don't run an alternator, or they don't run a inverter that then charges the battery that then converts back to DC. It's a DC generator. The Fisher Pandas and the ones that are out there that are DC generators are only meant for intermittent use. If you look at the details, and intermittent use is, what's that all about? You're going to use it for 10 minutes, an hour, or for 5 days. So in research, I found a company in India that builds and provides all the DC generator components and heads for all the cell phone towers around the globe, and also for the windmills around the globe. So they have a brushless DC generator, which means that it's available in 4 kilowatt, 8 kilowatt, and up to 10 kilowatt, 350 amp at 24 volts. They also have 48 volts. Again, without getting too geeky here, decided not to add the additional generator, the additional fuel system and lines, the raw water filtration, exhaust, all of those costs. So what we're doing is we are installing a 8 kilowatt generator on the port side engine and one on the starboard side engine. There's plenty of room in the engine bay to run it off of a tandem shaft, which is a little drive shaft.
I'm scared because we do use generator when we are at anchor. Sometimes we need to top the batteries.
Yeah, we have 4 days of rain.
Yeah, and because the weight is concerned on this boat, uh, we decided not to do that, and for some other reasons. But yes, some projects of William are phenomenal and work really well, and some and some not. So I hope that this is the
Careful.
one that's gonna work fantastic, because otherwise we will have to go and install the generator.
Well, and you guys know that when you set out to do something, whether it's building a shed, fixing a tractor, or restoring an old tractor or car, the wife is always, am I going to be safe riding in that when you're done? Well, one way or another.
Great question.
One way or another, I am set out to live on a boat off grid without running equipment. I hate the noise.
Yeah, he doesn't like that. I don't care.
I'm an engineer, and if I hear something running, I cannot relax because I have to listen what moment it's going to explode, or what time it's going to make a tick that I have to shut it down because I have to fix it. So when I'm sitting here and the solar is running, I hear nothing. I look at the meter, and the batteries are happy getting free power. And so that's why on this vessel, we've got almost 7,000 watts of solar. We can run the whole vessel and air conditioning on solar. The battery is a backup plan.
And then he's going to be like, get turn the dishwasher now. Because you do have to watch out for your appliances, obviously, when you leave at anchor. Can't turn on certain things if the batteries are low, or you have to check the batteries, and also cannot turn on simultaneously multiple appliances.
And I have to, the biggest technological changes is that you can buy an old Delco, or you can buy an alternator from other companies. The PM PTO alternators are brushless, which means I do not require a clutch between the engine and the generator. So as the engine's running, the generator is freewheeling until I tell the field, hey, I want some current. Give me 10 amps, give me 20 amps, give me 300 amps.
Give me all.
So give me whatever you have. So
wife is cooking.
Only when you're requiring that current is there a load on the engine. And more importantly, that's when it is now effectively connected electrically. So that drive shaft can sit there and spin like it does on your pickup truck for 100,000 miles. You might have to change a U-joint once in a while. So essentially, by having brushless systems, we no longer have to worry about load and distribution. So a generator and a shaft, if you look at the past episodes, that's how we will have one on both port and starboard. So we have the capability of 600 amps and the capability of 10 kilowatt. I've downgraded everything down to 200 amps per side and 7.5 kilowatt, so I don't have to be concerned about heat dissipation or liquid cooling. Anyway, hit me up if you have an engineering question.
230 people watching, and maybe the Nacho, just for example. Oh, I just shook the laptop. Nacho joined us, finally caught up with you guys. How are you guys? Where are you? Used to sail often up and down the Rio de la Plata, now living precautiously through your voyages. Saludos from Argentina. Hello. And probably we should say, just in case if somebody joined us, who we are and where we are.
Ready?
You go.
I'm William.
I'm Yana.
And we started Dawn Hunters 5 years ago as kind of like, I don't know, why did we start Dawn Hunters?
Who knows?
I think kind of like
I thought it was a cool idea.
family could kind of keep up with what we're doing.
Yeah.
So now I have to say that we have Yana's grandmother sends us texts. We've got people around the globe that have been able to keep an eye on what we're doing. A lot of people say, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing here? I thought you were in Africa. And well, that means you haven't been watching us. So
exactly. Now he has to go fix stuff. Exactly. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
So we are in Thailand.
Yes, we are in Thailand.
We are refitting our aluminum boat right now.
We're refitting the boat. We are working 7 days a week from sunup to sundown to get that boat done. We're utilizing a lot of really super good people in Thailand that are Thai, that are helping. Great skill, great work. The electrical and the design work we are still focusing on off-grid living because that's what we do.
And those 221 people, you hit the like button.
Oh,
And
subscribe if you're not
yeah,
subscribed.
Ward
We
is
need
saying hi guys. Read from Michigan. Read from Michigan.
Michigan. It's finally getting warm up there. Are you northern Michigan, or are you a Yooper, or are you southern Michigan?
Saying read firm. Read firm. Read firm.
Reed Firm, Michigan.
Does it tell you anything?
No.
Okay.
I know Northern
Moving
Michigan
on.
University, where
Carl is saying amorphous solar work on the cloudy days. You know what's amorphous solar?
well, the bifacial actually does put out not only on cloudy days, but also in the morning early and in the evening. So the bifacial panels drastically outperform any other panel I've tested. And I've tested not only flat, mono, maybe 10 different versions and different designs. So the bifacial, even though you're not reflecting off the bottom, which would be optimum, the output is far greater in a bifacial than in a non-bifacial panel.
And thank you, Laura, Cognito, and Pet Cat, and Good Vibes. Thank you guys for sending comments. We see you here, and thank you for sending love and greetings. So we are moving to Rob. Are you two gen sets redundant, meaning each one will charge everything when running? I have two redundant gen sets, which provides greater confidence.
Rob, welcome. And Rob has been with us also for, I guess, a long, long time. Thank you, Rob, for the question. And yes, the generators are redundant, and it's within the switching system I discussed earlier, is that we can run the port side engine or the starboard engine. We can dial up what type of current we require, and the engine RPM will change based on that dial up because it has an analog signal going to the engine. But I can take the engine, move it up to 1800 RPM. Right now, I've designed a system to be optimum at between 1800 to 2000 RPM. At that downrated, we will have 200 amp per side. So if we wanted to put 400 amp into the system, we could. But the way that it's been designed is that I never fully pull all the current into a lithium cell. I slowly put it to bring it to SOC, so I'm not generating heat and I'm keeping it at a safety factor. I also never charge the lithium to 100%. I charge it to around 92%. And that way I also, I'm more concerned about protection of the lithium and protection of the vessel. So there's a whole algorithm that I'm writing and that we have tested on Saba and we have tested on Dawn Hunter that we are utilizing with this genset.
All right, next, going back to aluminum.
I see hull thickness
Yes,
questions.
that's where are we going to. And you're not supposed to be reading comments, remember? You're supposed to be talking here. So Stan said, how do you like welding aluminum? I just would love to do some TIG weld, maybe a little on the different equipment needed. My Beaver welder has a TIG ability, but says will not do aluminum. And to this, hello, what is the aluminum sheet thickness for the skin of the hulls? That's from Jim. So you can answer both.
I've been welding with a stick welder, I guess, since on the farm 100 years ago. And then I learned how to TIG weld with stainless steel when we had Dawn Hunter 1, because all of the accessories I made with stainless steel. So I did that welding. I tried my hand a couple times at aluminium and I sucked at it. And I just said, I don't need to learn how to do this.
Why are you putting this so far away that I can't reach to this?
That was the mission.
He's been drinking this by himself.
So having the aluminium boat and having the aluminium dinghy, I decided that I was going to drag out my welder and I was going to learn how to weld aluminium. Well, as you just stated, I found out that my MIG and TIG, my multi-Miller welder, would not weld aluminum without a spool gun. So I find a spool gun, I get it all hooked up and connected, and although it works, it's not very structurally, in my mind, the integrity isn't there. So I had to dig around, and luckily in Thailand, the AC, you need to have AC TIG. The AC works in that it blasts down in one direction to clean the aluminum, and then it flips cycle, and then the second cycle does the welding. So it's clean weld, clean weld, clean weld. That's why you have to have AC in a simple form. It took me about 6-7 days of throwing a bunch of pieces away that looked horrible until I finally got a decent looking bead, and a whole lot of YouTube videos. There's a welding doctor and some other guys.
Yeah, he's been watching those YouTube videos on welding like crazy person the last 2 months.
I'm like, I am going to learn how to do this. So I finally have beautiful looking beads that are strong. They are not oxidized when you cut them. So you can learn how to do it. It's a technique. It's different from welding with a stick or welding stainless steel. You have to be, and I won't get into welding class here. You just have to be super clean in your environment. Your material has to be super clean, and you have to be steady, or otherwise you lay your arm on things. So I have gotten to where I am welding a large majority of the parts on the boat that are inside, so I don't have to keep calling somebody and say, can you weld this tab here? Can you do this? So I use the wire welder spool gun for tacking, and then I come back and I use the TIG process for making a good, strong weld. So go out there and do it, but go on YouTube, and if you type in TIG welding aluminium, you're going to get all kinds of advice, and you're going to find that it's very valuable to learn and then go out and then forget and then learn and forget. Anyway, now we go over to the thickness of the hull.
Thickness, yep.
The vessel has been designed by a naval architect called Anton Detroit. They're doing the vessels now for Balanced Catamaran, but they've designed a lot of aluminium vessels. They're a very well-known South African naval architectural firm, and the boat design is phenomenal. I mean, I'm very, very well impressed. The hull thickness is 6.5 millimeter from the side gunnels all the way down to the water line. It's 10 millimeter thickness on the sacrificial keels, which means that the keels are welded to the skin. And then behind the skin is another box. So if the keel gets ripped off, it does not open up the hull. It is a sacrificial keel. From the portion where all the portholes are, that is 20 millimeter plate, because the portholes would give the boat some compromise in its integrity. So there's a 20 millimeter plate on the port and starboard for the whole area of the portholes, which is huge. And that's welded to the top gunwale. The upper skin of the boat, where the pilot house is and the coach roof and so forth, that's 4.5 millimeter thick to keep the weight down. The front bulkhead is 20 millimeters thick at each bulkhead front of the boat, and the same at the aft deck into the engine room. There are 2 watertight bulkheads in the port and starboard front of the boat, which are the lockers for sails and spares. There are 4 watertight bulkheads in the center, and then each engine room is a watertight bulkhead. So all the water entry, raw water into the boat, comes into the engine room in a what's called a water well, and then that is distributed through the boat and then back out the back. So there are not through hulls bringing water into the boat. The air conditioning system, I'm designing the keel cooler system, so it will not be pulling water from outside. It will be cooled through the keel, because the keel on an aluminum boat is the same water temperature as outside. And will be additional episodes on that coming up. So I hope I answered the design skin of the boat.
And then James is asking, how much does electrolysis affect building an aluminum boat?
You know, James, there's a science to that I was forced to learn when we were upgrading 2 offshore oil rigs, because we were putting in 5 600 kVA generators. So summary is that you must keep your AC and your DC runs separated. You must keep your grounding properly designed so that you have landing points that are for AC and DC. All of these currents and wires and cables must go through separate tubes that are welded to the hull. So the DC and the AC is separated, running through tubes, and now we don't have wires that are, I guess, loose, tie wrapped to the hull somewhere. Furthermore, you have your plumbing systems and your water systems were again a separate tube. So electrically, either you control your straight currents by welding and having them run through a tube, which was really like a shielded insulator. In some cases, the DC low power I've run through PVC electrical conduit because that is very low current. It's very low voltage. And then it's also why I spend so much time in solar, because I need to keep the voltage down at the solar and the current up, but I don't want to run lines so heavy. So I won't go into the straight current and the eddy current and the galvanic in this tutorial, I guess, or this time. But there is a lot that goes into design of a vessel that is not just welding the hull together. And these companies need to be hiring, as we did in the oil rig. We didn't bring on electrical engineers for some advice. We hired them and they did all of the calculations, and they, as in a team of 8 to 10 engineers, came up with a system that we could then install. So, boat building is not something you test in the water. Not in my book anyway. All right.
Thank you.
Welcome, 200 people.
Thank you, Romulo. He sent us super chat, #1 fan.
Oh,
thank
yay.
you so much.
Thank you.
There is a lot of things here going on in the chat. Can't read.
I can't read.
I'm gonna block it out. I'm gonna just go block it off for you. So we're gonna. Some people are asking. You wanna?
I have to check something.
Yeah. So you go ahead. You wanna step out?
Yes. One moment.
He has a work quickly call. I'll answer this question. Bad Cat. As an old cat, I need advice on how to find a younger than me wife. Well, Bad Cat, didn't you read our comments? They all already answered for you. Money. Anyways, that's what all the crazy people are saying in the comment section. It's kind of a weird question, honestly. Like, why do you need a younger wife? Like, is it like the main point to get a younger wife? Or why? Because obviously younger wife and age difference comes with a lot of things, a lot of difficulty. It's not just like you're going to get a young chick and you're going to live together happily ever after. It like there are a lot of things, like you have an age gap, you have different interests potentially, you have I don't know, like she's younger and she might be more active and want to do things, and you want to like already relax on the couch. So there are a lot of things that people like dream about that young wife that they think they want, but in reality I don't think that having a younger partner, like right, as a man, it's necessarily like a good thing to have. You just want to have just a good partner. It doesn't matter what age they are. Now I think personally that if you are a boater, you have a higher chance finding a younger female partner because they don't have kids, they don't have work a lot of times, right? Because they're younger, or they don't have like a lot of, I don't want to use the bad word like baggage, right? But they don't have a lot of life baggage, like their own kids or the grandkids, or some anchors that keeping them on land and why they don't want to travel, right? Because that's what we are discovering. A lot of our subscribers are saying, for example, that the man wants to go to travel, but the wife doesn't, because she has her kids, right? Their kids, and then the grandkids starting to come and she wants to be there for the grandkids, or she just doesn't want to go and live on a boat because that's not her comfort zone, right? So that's why a lot of those things come up, and that's why potentially, right, a younger partner as a female might be able to go with you because they just don't have as much on their plate at that age. So that's why it might be more likely to get one. But then it, like I said, it comes with a lot of stuff, because that young partner might want to do some things that you already don't want to do, or you're going to have clash of interests, or who knows what else, right? So just be ready for this. And I think it's not like all fun and roses, as like the Sailing Doodles channel, for example, right? It also portrays that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think everything is like a sailing channel, or like, oh, I'll get a young partner channel, right? Like it's nice to dream about it, but remember, there is like reality to everything, and it's real life that we are all living. So just getting a young chick is not an answer. How about that? So this is your response. Definitely possible. And of course, that would be probably somebody on the dock already, also where to find them, right? It's girls working on the yachts, right? On super yachts. A lot of them are working as crew and would like to go travel on a boat. And also, what we discovered, countries like undeveloped countries. I'm not saying in a bad way, but right, but there are some people, some girls that are, well, I don't want to say poor in a bad way, but again, like, right, they want better lives for themselves. So they will be more willing to go with you somewhere. So, for example, girls in Thailand here would be willing to go. But again, you need to talk about all of this from start, because she wouldn't mind dating you, you an older guy, but it doesn't mean necessarily that they want to go boating. A lot of times they say, "Oh yes, sure, I'll go with you boating, honey," and then you marry her, and then in 2 years she's like, "Oh, I get seasick. I don't really want to go. Let's have a baby, and my mom gonna come live with us." So that's what you're gonna end up with. So again, I think if you're going for a younger partner without baggage, not saying it in a bad way, but you will need to make sure that that girl wants to boat and to live on a boat, because if she doesn't, then you want a boat, then it kind of like defeats the whole purpose. All right. William is still on the call, so let's see. Okay, pirates. I think I can also answer that one by Kendall Boats. Can you share your safety protocol if pirates are attempting to board your vessel? A spear gun would get their attention if they weren't armed with guns. Actually, that's a great question, and that was really a big of my concerns when we started to leave. Wow, that's something. This, can you hear this air conditioning? I think it's gonna break soon. So anyways, so the pirates, so it was a big of my concern when we just started traveling, and especially when we went at anchor in Bahamas for the first night, and it was literally nothing, right? This, no people, no sound, and I'm like, man, if somebody wants to board our boat right now, what are we gonna do? So and after that we had like a lot of discussions about that. However, since then, a lot of years have passed, and I've realized a couple of things. So, number one, you need to understand what kind of pirates might come to your boat depending on the location where you're at, right? So, when in Bahamas, what are the chances of these people to be armed? And what are the chances of them not being armed? In Africa, for example, right, like when you crossing, like in those African countries, the chances of them being armed are high, right? So you're like, okay, so what are my chances to really protect myself with a bunch of people with AK-47s? Not that many chances. So maybe you don't want to protect yourself, or you do. I don't know. So and then so some of them might be armed, some of them might be not armed, some of them might be just armed with knives. Then what you're gonna do, right? So it always gonna depend on the location and you assessing your risks on that piracy where you are at. For example, we actually just heard the story just recently. Not heard, it actually happened. So we were at in the marina, not this one, but another one, and we see all the lights and some commotion in the marina. William gets out of the boat, like there is some dinghy flying in, and we like, whoa, 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 like easy, easy. William runs out, and the guy tells him, he's like, there are pirates on my boat, right? We're here in Thailand. And he's like, what pirates? Like there are no piracy here, really. Like it's a very safe country. He's like, yeah, there are guys with knives on my boat. So he because what was happening, he left his boat at anchor, and basically the boat was at anchor. They left to shore. They were coming back with their dinghy to their boat, and they saw that there were guys on their boat. They came close and they saw that they had knives, so they left immediately and they came running for help. Now, when the story kind of gets weird, is that instead of calling police, they get some private security guards or something like that, and they bring them to the boat. And then he comes back and he tells us that, yeah, there were some guys with knives trying to steal things, and they jumped all in the water and swam back. So we never heard the end of the story, and it was kind of weird. You coming back? I'm saying about that story where about the knives on the in the marina.
Oh, yes,
how,
yeah.
how it was weird. So the question is about pirates. So I'm saying that you never know when it's going to happen. It can happen obviously everywhere, but basically the thing here is that if you the chances here, for example, in Thailand, that they're going to have guns are thin to known. So we know that they could have knives potentially, right? So that's it. So how are you going to protect for knives, for example, if that's where I was going? So what would you do with your protocol?
Well, you have two protocols in safety. Is one is you hope that you can communicate and have a discussion about what they want, give them what they want, with the exception of your wife, and become friends, because there are some people that are starving, they're hungry, they don't have options, and they just want food. They don't want your Garmin chart plotter because they don't even have electricity. So you have to assess the situation. Why are these people coming on your boat? Now, the flip side of that is they're on your boat. It's nighttime. And now you have to assume that they're there for something that's not good. And with that in mind, then you have to have a different action plan. Now, on a boat, you can have flare guns. You can have certain items that are boat related, and that's where I'll leave it at. So you have to make that decision when you hear a noise and you're going out to that door. You're going to be able to see out much easier than they can see in. So you have to see what's going on.
Well, it depends. If you're at anchor and everything, your boat is light up. I was just thinking it the other day. We are there, like they can see what we're doing, how many people on board. We have lights on. We don't know how many people, who's lurking there.
This is why you have a plan A and a B. Yana goes out blasting everybody and finds out that they were full overboard and they just came on your ship for safety. And
yeah, then they should have said something. SOS.
yeah, right. There's a couple of protocols. Now the aluminium vessel, we've also built it a little bit differently, with break-in, piracy, things like that in mind. I got to check something. Everything went out.
Yeah, the air conditioner was making super strange noise.
Excuse me, engineer maintenance man has to check.
The role playing starts like just like that. Yeah, it's crazy. Like this live stream is crazy because like we keep going back and forth. You heard the noise, right? Did you hear the noise, guys? So it made super weird noise that I never heard about. So while you're gone, I'm gonna answer what countries I did my tattoos on or something. I've made them back in Russia, so that was a long time ago. Woo! What else? Do you have siblings? If so, what do they do? I have stepsisters, 3. They're all younger than me. One is in Holland right now studying. What she's studying? The chemistry of some sort. And then I have 2 little ones. One is 8 and one is 12 or something like that. So they are all, 2 of them are yet in Russia with my parents. Alrighty. Dawn, greetings from New Mexico. I've been following you for years. Thank you, Dawn. That's super cool. I can't, that's like a long time. All right. What else here? Starlink incredible. Yana typing the real time how we run the world. That's for sure. Rob, so there are a bunch of people asked about the lithium batteries, and somebody asked about life PO4 versus lithium.
No,
and then also with electrical storms, and if you happen to be hit by lightning, are those batteries protected besides fusing them? So we go back to technical stuff. I I interjected a little
You,
life
you
story.
you were winging it.
Yes, of course.
So the go back to your first one so I can give them the
Life
exact same.
PO4 versus
Well, yeah, just
that one.
where is it at?
Yeah, lithium ion or
Yeah.
Life PO4.
So we're the LF 304, which is your lithium ferrous PO4s. They're not the Chevy Volt batteries, or the old versions. If you look up the tech specs, it's an LF 304. It's 304 amp hour, somewhere around 3.2 to 3.5 volts. And if you look at the video that I did about the batteries, I did state that it's an LF 304. So if you want to look at the tech specs, go ahead and dig that up. That was one of the questions, or multiple questions. I do have 1 millimeter isolation plates between the cells. It's just in the video. I was showing you how we assemble them, disassemble them, and then we were putting them in the bulkhead. So I didn't go into all of the finite details of assembling those two battery banks. The cells are connected with a master disconnect relay on the charging side and the discharging side with current temperature sensors. So if the cell gets over current or gets over temperature, the master relay is going to shut down the system. And that's redundantly on both sides. Lightning. I did a lot of work repairing electronics back when I was 15 to 17. In northern Wisconsin, we had lightning storms constantly. They were taking out TV sets, electric fencers, anything that's electrically plugged in is susceptible to lightning damage. On boats, knock on wood, we've been in a lot of lightning storms and we haven't been struck, but there's a lot of boats around us that have been. And lightning is going to find the least path of resistance. And while it's doing that, it's going to take everything out in its path. Having an aluminum boat, the mast is connected to the hull. The hull has a 400 millimeter by 400 millimeter step box, 10 millimeters thick, that connects the two side hulls, and the two side hulls are sitting in the water. So steel boats get hit with lightning constantly, and so do aluminum boats. Every commercial ship is steel. Their instruments and their gauges don't go apart. Our oil rigs on offshore are sitting in the water, and we would get hit constantly by lightning strikes because we are sitting super high four-post. Summary is that you can't really program for lightning. The fusing is a protection. The relays provide a protection, and they have a lightning system. I guess it's a varistor built inside that they would more than likely explode before the battery would catch that, because the batteries are completely floating. They're not grounded to the hull. So we would like to hope that a lightning strikes us. It's going to wipe out the VHF radio and the instruments. It's going to go out to the ocean. Yana's going to have curly hair in the shower, and we will have survived a lightning
I don't
strike.
shower that much for it to be exactly at that moment.
And if there's lightning storm, we are not showering inside or
No,
outside.
we're not showering.
We're
not showering in general. I don't know why we're doing that shower anyways. We're gonna shower dog there.
Yes. So, and yes, there's a million reasons why I love steel for a vessel, and I would still buy a steel vessel because of working the oil rigs, but they rust, and you can never keep up with that rust. And I was tired of trying to chase it around in a circle. Aluminium to me is the next, and probably the next alloy, and definitely it's an alloy of vessels.
And Cindy's saying, I think Yana is drinking too much. I wonder, how did you come to this conclusion? Because I don't drink. Anyways, so going back to, so a lot of people said about the Pirate Defense flare gun. It's good. And then,
so should I cover that fast?
CO2 fire extinguishers work well. And then pepper ball guns. Yes, you are. But I'm just going to add that why he said boat items is that because the boat items you can get in and out the countries because they're legal. Certain things that are still legal in certain countries are illegal in other countries. For example, like what's it?
Tasers.
Like a taser, for example, is legal in the U.S. and illegal in Thailand. So
certain
how you're going to be getting in and out of the countries if they do search your boat is where it comes to down to what risks are you willing to take of them impounding your boat potentially and putting you to prison versus those pirates.
And a very I'll be brief if I can, because this is a story in itself. We were leaving Africa. Yana had forgotten
my God,
a knife in her baggage, and because we were camping, we bought a bunch of pepper ball guns.
This is a crazy story.
Pistols and rifles, air cartridges. We had every pepper ball gun known to man.
No, William like went to the store because we were like, we're gonna go camping, and he bought half of the store, and I was like, yeah, get it all, because
this was
we need to be protected.
What was it? Knives and trigger, or triggers and knives, or
blades and triggers?
Blades and
was
trigger.
The name of the store.
Amazing
in
store.
Africa, yeah.
So we are going through security, and the man says, "Wait a minute, we have to inspect this bag."
We are in the airport. We're flying from South Africa to Tanzania, and the guy stops. Like the bags that go through the machine. He's like, "You have a knife there." I'm like,
"Whose bag is this?"
Yeah, I'm like, a knife. I'm like, I don't have a knife. Because we obviously, so we took everything out and from the camper, and we left it in South Africa. I'm like, what knife? I'm like, I don't have any knife. So he's like, yeah, open the bag, whatever. So I look through it and I don't find anything. And then he opens a bag, like some other front, like a zipper, and he takes out one of the air pistols.
He takes out a Glock, simulated Glock, but it was an air pistol of a Glock, and he said,
"What is this?
You have a gun in your bag." And she's like, because it was her bag. I
look at him.
She's like, had dumbfounded, and he says, he said, I said, well, it's an air gun. He said, anything that represents a gun to our police force and our TSA is a gun. You're in big trouble. And I said, well, it's mine.
And then he starts looking again
for the knife,
because the knife was still not found. And he takes another
gun. This time it was a small, looked like a short AR-15.
And it's all like, what is it? They're all air guns.
They were air guns, but they were
legal in South Africa, but you cannot take them in the airport. And we knew that, and we took everything out. But somehow
we forgot these in
this
that bag.
too in our bag, because as we were moving in and out of the camper, and because we had so many, I was moving them from the bags to the special container. And I was like, I showed William the container. I'm like, are this all the things? And he's like, yeah, all of them. So I didn't even know how many we had, because we had a bunch.
So then he pulls out the ceramic balls ammo. He pulls out not only the pepper ball ammo, but he also pulls out the ammo, which is pepper and chlorine mixed together, which is the most lethal thing on earth. And he said, you guys, I have to call the police.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking at us. They're holding the two guns up. We go into a private room, and Yana is like, well, can we just kind of take care of this? And he said, you, young lady, need to leave the room.
I'm from Russia.
She says, what do you mean? She says, you need to leave the room. So he sends her out, and he sits me down. He said, the police are going to come, and you're going to go to jail. Long story short, I won't go into how I got out of that room. The two police officers came in. They're like, are you like John Wayne? Are you like boom, boom, boom? So I realized that air guns are considered in airports not an air gun. They're considered a weapon. And I understand, they said, if somebody pulled this out, even though it's an air gun, it is an exact replica of a Glock and an exact replica of an AR. So, wow, I had to talk. And yeah, Bonnie and Clyde, I just see. I got out of there, and I won't say how or why, but
you can imagine.
Thank goodness my traveling skills from around the globe. I did make friends with the police force. I donated the guns to the police force so they could understand about air guns and pepper ball guns, I gave a small class on how they worked, how you load them, and what their purpose is. So I donated my time and my experience, and
we made the flight.
we made the flight.
And also, so somebody's asking here, Rod, what do you use air guns for? Well, we bought them because we were in the camper in South Africa, so we didn't want to be without protection completely because we were in the rural campsites.
You know, if you really, and I'm a gun nut. I had to give all that up when I left. But I've had everything known to man. I was a marksman for a long time. The air guns today have really, really advanced. And if you're going to shoot a pepper ball, you do not have to hit someone. You can shoot the ground or a wall. And with 17 shots in a clip, there's going to be so much pepper and powder around. Now, is it going to win a fight against somebody else in another gun? Depending on how you use it. But this is your only choice today. Slingshot, air gun, run fast, swim, you know.
Well, you guys cannot believe when they pulled that gun out of my bag, and I knew like that immediately that we forgot to get one out. And I was like, but what's a scary part of this is that they didn't see it in their machine. They only saw a freaking knife that they found later. It was like a little knife like that.
And the knife, they finally, after all the ammo and all the guns were removed, and all of the shit's laying all over the top of the countertop, and I'm standing there doing everything other than my knees and my hands over my neck, they finally find this little knife and they pull it out and they say, "Here's the knife we saw." They would not have seen none of this. But you know, we were running to that plane. That's the first time in a long time when we finally were up in the air. I'm like, wow, that could have been a disaster.
No, and I'm like, yeah, and why I said like, can we solve this somehow? Because I'm like, they're gonna take him to prison in South Africa. And that man he had the eyes like
he was not.
With me.
Yeah,
eyes,
yeah.
You know?
He was angry. He said, "This can cost me my job if I don't do this properly. I must call the police." The police had to come, and he was the head of security TSA for the airport, but they had to call the police.
They're actually like real police
in Durban,
yeah.
Durban, Africa.
Yeah.
So, thank goodness if you guys are patrons or subscribers, or you two ladies are watching. Thank you so much for your hospitality.
Yes, hit that like button. All right. You like to be not in prison? Exactly. Have you been to Little Bohemia Lodge? Do you know what that is?
No, I would have to see what that is.
You need a Black Panther for security, William.
Where is your security? We have one. We have an Afro Pincher.
Yeah. We have a little dog.
We have a very little dog that barks. And so now at least we have an alarm system. Supposedly.
Anyways,
don't mess with our dog.
Can you get a permit for having a rifle on your boat as protection?
You can have permits, and I've looked into having that permit. The problem is that you then are going to have all liability if somebody breaks in your boat and gets that gun and uses it the wrong way. So the reality of it is, I don't think that, haven't been boarded yet by pirates. We had a lot of close encounters. I don't think a gun is required in most countries that we've been in. It definitely isn't required in Thailand. You know, you either have to build a complete arsenal with your AR-16 and your 30-06s and your other things, or otherwise you have nothing. You can't be half armed. You can't have only 18 bullets on your vessel if a longtail is going to pull up to you. Because also remember, in Thailand, you have women and children in these boats. Who are you going to shoot? You know, what decision is that going to be?
Yeah, that was like also a good point with all of this, because how do you know? Like, you need to be freaking sure what you're doing, because imagine if you shoot somebody who wasn't meaning to do what you think they were doing, and then you are in such a big trouble. that what are you going to do?
Then you're in jail for sure, and you're not coming out soon.
Yeah.
And the biggest weapons I've seen here is somebody having a machete for cutting down the leaves of the bushes. Most of the guys have fishing poles. Think about it. You go on a long tail, you go on a boat trip with a stranger you never met. They take you all the way back into the swamps. That to me would be more of a planned danger than somebody attacking a vessel, because tourism here is very important.
And still we did that. We went with that. If you saw that episode by the gypsy village, we went with this nice old man. He could have brought us who knows where.
Correct. You know,
but he didn't.
So anyway, we will.
I see our editor is here, guys. So our editor is watching. So if you have like bad comments about the editing, this is the time to write them.
He's like, oops, busted. Now he just left. Well, it's been an hour and 25 minutes.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm glad we actually were able to do this live. He made it.
Thank you for 222 people sticking with us and 250 likes. You know, we first started this channel as kind of something that we laughed about. And now it's been a lot of work, a lot of effort. The refit is actually taking longer because I have to film some of this stuff, and I come back totally disorganized in filming.
And actually, one last question we didn't answer that about somebody asked prior about making the boat electric, and also
yes, yeah, a lot of questions.
And now also David saying, have you considered a collaboration with another YouTube channel, Dallas? Believe it or not, they are building aluminum catamaran boat with electric. So maybe you can answer that. That's the last question we're going to answer.
I guess in my past life, when I had an engineering firm and we did rig work, there's over, I think I've got 4,000 servos running around the globe in automated machinery. I personally don't think electric is here yet. All the research, and believe me, I study, I watch Delos, I watch Doodles, I watch Beta Marine, I watch Yanmar. I can go on and on. I have studied electric vehicles ad nauseum. I don't believe that in the boating industry, for my use, that electric yet is the way to go. It would have been so easy. We had a blown engine. We ripped the engine out, and I keep looking at that empty engine room. And even yesterday I was doing dimensions because I was doing the drawings, and I'm like, man, it would be so easy to put an electric hybrid in here. We've got the battery, we've got the solar, we've got the perfect platform for it. But when I am in the middle of a storm and Yana is screaming, the lights are out, the batteries are dead, we have independent batteries on each engine. And when we hit that engine and it lights up, that is such a refreshing feeling to know that we can go somewhere. We can cut the anchor chain with a cordless grinder if we need to. I don't have that comfort feeling yet of electrical. On our dinghy, I still get on the dinghy and I still test the motor. I spin it back and forth before we let loose of the boat.
Yeah, I know. Now when I take the dog ashore alone, he's like, "Did you check the motor? Is it running?" Yeah.
So yeah, I had a visitor a week ago come to the boat. He's a pilot for Qatar Airlines. Hey, if you're watching, he has visited Delos, he's visited Pucky, he's visited different boats, and he's finally wants to get into boating. And he had the same question: what about electric? So personally, we're going to stick with good old diesel. The diesel is going to be our generators. We'll focus on solar and battery technology. I think when battery technology changes and the density versus the weight and the current storage changes, then electricity has some options. But why would I want to spend $150,000 plus to put an engine in that's going to go 6-8 hours? And then it's still under test in many situations. So that's my take. I prefer electric dinghy. Amazing, because you're going a little ways from the boat. If shit really went to hell, you could swim back to the boat, or you could like find a ride back. But if you're in the middle of nowhere land and your boat loses propulsion, then you're going to be like Bobby. That boat ended up on shore, got beat all to hell, and became a disaster, not because of it was rough seas, but because they lost propulsion. And I don't want to. I have two engines for a reason. That's redundancy. We can still go anywhere we want on one engine. And if things were really bad, we could hook up the dinghy, and we could pull the boat with our little electric.
Island Time saying I have 48-volt tender motor and it's challenging, range anxiety.
Is the boat having range anxiety, or are you?
Actually, we don't have range anxiety.
I do.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't have
I'm
range
constantly
anxiety.
checking, and
I don't.
our 9.9 horsepower EV propulsion motor, e-propulsion has been amazing. Our 3 horsepower is amazing.
Okay, once, right? We almost ran out of the battery, but that was actually that we have it on a camera.
In
It's
a storm,
in a storm. We went to the cave
way too far.
and then we got caught in the storm. It was last rainy season last year, and then we had to go back. But because the water got so choppy to go back the fast way back to our boat, right? It was an island, so we came all the way here. Now we had to go back all the way here
Against the storm and the
against the
waves.
storm and the waves. And that's when, and we didn't charge the motor. We just went on the charge that we already took the dinghy before. And that was this one, what is it? How many horse?
3 horsepower.
3 horsepower, that small thing. No, wasn't even our real dinghy.
We were at 0%, alarm squealing at us for 10 minutes. And I'm like, please let us get to the boat, because if it dies, the current wind's going to take us off to the island.
Yeah,
somewhere.
we wouldn't. That was the only time when we kind of screwed up. And again, we took it far. Again,
We took it further than we should have.
something that we are preaching now, that you shouldn't be really taking your dinghy that far, anyways.
The other is that on the 9.9 horsepower on aluminium, we use the 180 amp hour battery bank, which is 170 pounds. It weighs more than 2 of us together. That never got to 50%, the way that we use our dinghy. So what we've done now is I've chopped it apart, and I'm only have 70 amp hours, which will be plenty for our use. So I'm reducing the weight. But yes, range anxiety, my repair for that, or my Band-Aid, is have an additional emergency battery that you can hook up if you need to get home. It's kind of like a get home engine on a trawler. One last question I need to answer fast.
What's that?
Everybody has been asking me why I've used 24 volt instead of 48 volt. I've been asked this question now for a year, because on this
And if
Saba,
you're still here, this is your time.
this is your time. On Saba, we went with a 48 volt system that then charged the 12 volt system. Dawn Hunter 1 had a 24 volt system. Most of the commercial vessels are at 24. And the reason for that is that you can buy off-the-shelf marine components that are 12 or 24, bilge pumps, air conditioning pumps, anything that's DC. When you go to 48, you have to buy a DC to DC converter, which means another box, another set of wiring, and more redundancy. So I went with 24 volt and 2 systems for the redundancy. 48 is amazing and perfect for home use. It's amazing for off-grid use. It's a standard that's been utilized. But for on a vessel that's aluminium, I didn't want 48 volts at up to 600 amps running around the boat. I'm okay with 24 volts at 600 amps, and I've touched it a few times, and it does say hello. So 48 volt on a steel boat or an aluminium boat is something that I don't quite feel comfortable from a safety perspective. Again, that's my engineering take.
And there's somebody commented here. I see. Oh, okay. While you were gone, I've answered about some age difference question. Your answer on age difference is very civil. However, do not think that is anyone's business. Simply live your lives. Guys, if the question is civil, we can answer anything. I just there are obviously a lot of people that are just expressing their own insecurities through comments, right? And they are projecting their own reality to this. But if the questions are civil about our age difference and whatever, how it is, like I've answered you, we can answer them as well. Because when you do have a YouTube channel, right, and you put content, obviously people have interest in different things and in our age difference as well. How is it, like what is it like? That's okay to ask such questions, and we can try and answer them to our best. It's just like when they are rude or like some crazy comments, obviously we're not going to answer that. But if you're civil and just curious how it is, we absolutely can answer anything. So that's kind of a little.
And being in Thailand, there's a lot of let me back up. Being in Thailand, there is no one looks at anyone strange for having an older wife or a younger wife. No one places an age variable on a relationship here, because it's quite common.
Yeah.
Certain parts of the United States, it's looked at differently. Different countries have different opinions, and I respect all of that. Sometimes I read these comments, hell for review, and I'm like, oh, really? That's all you've got? Is that it? I mean, I've had so many. I hope you enjoy sailing with your daughter comments that I'm like, come on with something new. Give me something that's
Yeah,
strange.
that's like when you read hundreds of the same comments or of the same joke, you're like, man, you just wish that people would be smarter in their jokes,
But
because the jokes are the same. So like the people thinking that they're so funny by saying that joke, in the meantime we already read that joke hundreds of times.
well,
So
I
it's
think
kind of funny in that matter.
one of the best was that clearly this guy can't get anybody his own age, so he had to go find a young woman.
Yeah,
I'm
because
like,
I don't understand anything.
yeah, I'm like, wow, this is great. This is
Yeah.
epic.
Yeah.
It's
Anyways,
is one of you more romantic than the other?
good question. I think William is more romantic. He still opens the door for me.
I still, that's why I live at Anchor, because I don't have to open the door. No, I still open the door. I was brought up old school.
Yeah. That's definitely him.
You treat your wife, you treat your daughters, you treat women like they should be treated. It doesn't mean that you're bowing down to everyone, but yes, I feel that being a man is an honor, and having a very nice wife is a blessing. And so, I would rather be looked at weird because I opened my wife's door and I see so many women slap their husband or their boyfriend saying, look it, he opened the door, why aren't you doing that?
And when we just started to date, he opened the door, and I had men opening the door for me, but then they would stop opening the door after like maybe a month, right? When the like the how you call it, the initial phase,
the
romance is over, right, and just the regular
honeymoon.
life starts. Then they stop opening the door. So I told him, I said, look, I said, you don't need to open the door. I said, you can stop right now, because if you're not opening a door in general, then what's the point? I didn't want something fake, right? Because I've seen it so many times. And he's like, no, I always open the door, and I'm not opening it just for you. This is what I believe in. And I'm like, yeah, right. So so many years later, we still laugh at it. And I'm like, and I kind of always check, and I'm like, sometimes I come and I look, and he's like, yeah, I'm opening the door.
And because it's pouring rain, I'm soaked. I have no rain gear on, and I'm still opening the door.
Yeah, so we're laughing at it to this day. So he's still opening the door.
So I guess, yeah, I guess maybe I'm more romantic. I mean, Yana is very romantic, but her culture is very black and white. Our culture is like blah 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 blah, and you don't know really what's going on.
Honestly, I think I how to say, I've spent all my romantics on back in the days.
And Impashel, I'll be talking to you later.
Noted.
Right.
Imtishal is our editor. Say hello to him. And as I said, look, Imtishal, nobody said that videos suck. So good for you. Because that was the time.
Thank you, everybody. 192 people have stuck with us for over an hour and a half.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. And I know like we had to reschedule this. This sucked. This is the first time when this happened. So
and you know what? The air conditioner pump blew up.
That's what happened.
That's why both air conditioners are dead.
Great.
But we're sitting with a little $7 fan.
Yeah, and it made a super weird sound. Like, and I was saying you were gone. I'm like, can you guys hear that? So that's what happened.
Well, I think, back in the bilge.
Back in the bilge. All right, guys. Nice talking to you. We see you soon.
Subscribe, send it to other people. We need to get to 100,000 subscribers because in 5 years, we should be doing better than what we are, but we're not.
Bye.
Bye. Never imagined how hard I